Anyhow, good morning. My name is Lotfi, Saibi. I could start speaking in Arabic or French, but that would only last in about 5 minutes. Unfortunately, I am working on my Arabic and French speech giving. But since many of you are engineers, my experience over the last 3 years is that you will probably come and thank me in a few months when you're out filling out job applications. English is, unfortunately, or fortunately for many of you, a requirement now. In your, it's a competitive advantage, I find it. In the day-to-day that I do, people who speak English, especially engineers, information technology, and many other fields of engineering, it's become compulsory. It's become a competitive advantage. I know many of you understand English, but I would recommend that at least you make an effort to speak it often. The job market is no longer limited to Tunis, and people you deal with on a daily basis could be anywhere in the world. But I'm not here to speak to you about English. I feel more comfortable this way, so. What really intrigued me is the title, Bridging the Gap. And so as I look down here, and I hope there are representatives of these companies. Are there people here from these companies? Yes? No? Yeah. Okay. It would have been really nice to also see among these beautiful faces of yours some of the representatives of these companies present, because we can't bridge the gap if the partners are not all involved. We can't just make it the job of the student or the job of the university. This title, to me, was really, really what has inspired me over the last 4 years to dedicate most of our work. As many of you know, and I know some of the faces, and it's my 4th visit here, or 5th, I think. This is all I do. This is all I work on. I have been you many years ago, a student, totally disconnected with the professional market, with the job market. And fortunately for me, I went to school in a part of the world that my success as a student depends a great deal with the involvement of the institution where I go to school, the society environment, the companies that I work with, but also the student body, all of those who graduate. Are there alumni here? Are there SUCOM alumni here? People who have gone to school here, graduated, and come back? Yes? Okay. I cannot tell you how important that is. The success of many universities depends on how connected you stay with that university after you leave. And by the way, it's not a favor. You're not doing a favor to the school. It's your duty. It's your responsibility as a student. After you leave, you need to be connected. Okay? Liesha City did something last week that made me really happy to see. And more universities in Tunisia need to do that. There's not a single student at Harvard University that spends more than 2 or 3 days looking for a job. Many of us have jobs way before we graduate. And who's our employers? People who have graduated before us. There is a tremendous disconnect. Our culture, the educational culture that we have adopted, the Franco system of education that we have adopted, does not allow for that. There are many reasons behind it, and I will try to touch, since I have a whole hour to speak. And thank God the ministers are not here for me, because they would have taken some of my time to see why some companies are listed every year as the top companies in the world. And others make it to that list of top companies in the world, but then disappear a year or two later. And the criteria of selection was based on human development, financial achievements, market segments, that sort of a thing. And part of the conclusion was that, and he noticed that, the industries all have available to them the same technology is available to most companies, the same resources. In other words, they can all recruit from the same markets, the same consumer. So what makes some companies excel year after year after year, and others disappear? You understand? You follow my thought right now? Why is it that some companies excel all the time, and others have a hard time even remaining in the top, given that the hypothesis is that they have the same access to resources, financial, technological, and human. And the study showed that many of these reasons have to do with the kind of people that recruit. When two companies go to recruit from a university, they look for different things. There are companies who just look for expertise and know-how. And there are companies who look for well-rounded engineers. Let's say we're talking about engineering companies. The companies that recruit based on well-roundedness, if I can create a new word, students who not only excel in their field of expertise, but also have a certain savoir être. Those companies are the ones that succeed and succeed for a long time. Then he studied the management and leadership of these companies. How is that different than some of the other companies? The leadership of Microsoft and Google and Apple and Boeing and Airbus, and these are examples of companies that are in the top every year, differs a great deal than those companies that come in one time or twice and then they disappear. How is it different, you might ask? He went a step further. The companies that succeed over the long period, sustainable success, market share, price share, stock market, all of that, have a leadership that did not finish in the top of their group, in their school. They didn't finish the 19 survive, They were average students. These leaders of these companies, when they were in school, they were just average. But they excelled in other things as well. They excelled in human relations. They could talk to people. They could listen to people. They empathized with people. They were aware of emotions and aware of their social surroundings. Something that if we look back, and so I remember reading this study for the first time, and I said, let me compare that to what we are doing here in Tunisia in our educational system. We are creating extremely smart workers. We're But do not forget about the other thing that we're about to talk about. We're going to spend a whole hour talking about it, and hopefully I can open your eyes to certain new things. You are engineers. Many of you are, right? Information technology, telecommunication, that sort of stuff. The important thing is that you'll be a successful engineer soon, if you're already not. You will be facing challenges. And some of these challenges have very little to do with the skill that you are learning. Many of these challenges have to do with you learning how to get your point across. Many of these challenges will have to do with you adapting to the company or the environment that you work in. Many of these challenges will have to do with understanding other people working in teams. My recommendation to you is continue studying, continue excelling at what you do, but I need you now, you need to pay attention a little bit more to other factors, and I'm going to list those other factors. But before I do that, I want to tell you a really funny story. I left Tunis to go study in the States, and being a math person that I was really good at math. So I was proud of myself, and I went to the university and I gave them my dossier day, looking for, so that they would give me all the credits for all the studies that I had done. And I came back a week later and they gave me like a third of what I anticipated in terms of credits. You need about 124 credits to get your bachelor degree with these. And so I was thinking with my classes here for computers that they would give me money. It wasn't so much the years, it was the flus, every year was a lot of money. So, and I come back and they gave me like 10 credits. I was expecting about 30 or 40 credits. That's a whole year of study. That's about $20,000 for someone who didn't have any money. I was very upset, so I asked to talk to the admissions officer, and I said, I think there was a mistake. And she said, well, let me look, Mr. Saibi. No, there was no mistake. I said, but I've taken all these classes and all these courses. And she says, yes, but you missed the most important thing. You have no social sciences. You have no philosophy classes. You have no humanities. You have no Shakespearean English. No. And I said, you must be mistaken. I am studying math. She said, yes, we know you're studying math. But our university cannot allow you to graduate. We have a reputation. We can't let mathematicians leave here not understanding the humanities. And I'm going, these Americans don't understand anything. A mathematician studying humanities, a mathematician studying social science, a mathematician studying philosophy. With math, the physico-physical, didn't care. And all of a sudden, just a year and a half later, they're refusing my graduation practically unless I take all these classes. I did it reluctantly. I had to. Let me tell you, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I just realized after I left school how much we don't know. How much we don't know what we don't know. Does that make sense? If I wanted, she had here this morning, Monsieur le Ministre, the one saying, because if I were in his place, the first thing I would do, I would require you all to take philosophy. And since I'm not the minister, I'm going to ask you to read philosophy books. Let's look at it this way. You'll be handed a job, and about 2 years from now, a project. Here, go launch this project. And what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to have to look at that project in many different ways. And, you've all heard of the expression brainstorming? Engineers go in a room, lock the door, and then they brainstorm ideas. Where does that practice come from? Questioning things, looking at things from a different point of view, building on an opinion that's not yours, accepting the other opinion, working with it. Philosophy. Today, I read fix things, you improve things, you create processes, you innovate, that's what you do. Innovation, or reverse innovation, or disruptive innovation, whatever you call it. It's based on looking at things from a different point of view, improving the processes, improving the world that you live in. So I just needed to get that out of the way, because I still think about it, and I think about that old lady that looked at me and she says, we can't let you graduate with a degree in mathematics because you have not taken classes in humanities and social science and philosophy. And that helped me bridge the gap. Because when I went to the United States, I was someone who was one of the best in mathematics, and that's all I knew. That's all I knew. Today, of course, I don't see any equally great share in companies, but I see them in a different way. I resolve issues. People pay me to fix problems in their companies. Their companies that they know better than I do, but I do it by questioning the existence of things. And philosophy will allow you to do that. Humanities, social science, is another area that you absolutely, and you have no choice, must pay attention to. Because in a year or two from now, you will be surrounded not by robots, by people. People who feel, people who bleed, people who cry, people who are sick. This too, we have failed you as a society. I can tell you today, your success, whatever success means to you, a good 80% of it. Dale Carnegie, one of the very famous speakers and writers on leadership, years ago at Ford Motors, said addressing mechanical engineers at Ford Motors, said to them, 80% of your success is not your engineering skills, it's your human engineering. It is how do you engineer relations with each other. When I graduated in '86, the biggest fear was that robotics were going to take over. Everything was going to be robotics, and we, the people, we, the young students, were going to be without jobs. Well, here it is 30 years later, and I don't see any robots. Well, I see them sometimes as people, but I don't see any robots. I see more people. I see more interactions. We are now having to deal with people that are very different than us, think differently. Men, women, poor, rich, black, and white. They believe in God, they don't believe in God. They're whatever. Our society is becoming much more heterogeneous, much more different than we are. And as an engineer, as any person with a degree, I need to understand that, because the success, I may have all the X's and the Y's and the procedures and the processes, but someone needs to put that to work. That's what humanities does. That's what social science does. In our yearly leadership academy that we hold for young people like yourselves, last year, the one topic that about 250 people requested, and they were all engineers like you, mostly about 80% of them. When we gave them a survey, what was the topic of leadership development they all wanted to have for the whole month? La confiance, they said. How do we young people, اليوم الشباب ما عندوش الثقة لا في روحه هو ولا في المجتمع اللي لا في روحه هو ولا في المجتمع اللي يعيش معه. This trust comes from developing inner leadership. So that's why social sciences and humanities are also important. I know they didn't teach you this in school, but now you need to do this on your own. You need to grab a book instead of grabbing Facebook and study about people, because you will remember these words in about a year or 2 or 3. Your success is the human engineering, not the technical engineering. A good 70-80% of it. It's your relationships. It's managing relationships with others. And that is how another tool of bridging the gap. Bridging the gap is what? Industry and students and education. There are many things that we can do. And today we will just talk about what we can do, because there's also much that the company can do. And who is the company? And what is the company? It's a group of individuals like ourselves, all working towards a common objective. A company has a culture. A company has objectives, much more financial than anything else. It has a market that it deals with, and your role is to contribute to that. Recently, a human resource director at one of the bigger banks here in Tunis told me a story. He says, we recruit financial engineers from universities with the idea now that it takes us about 1 year to see our return on investment. Do you understand what that means? It's scary. Meaning that we recruit you to work for us. For 1 year you're contributing zero, zilch. لازم يعملوا لكم فورماتاج. البريود هذيك من مكتب للمارشي في البنك هذيك that employs about 3,000 people. الانجنيور اليوم يشد عام قبل ما يبدا هو عنده contribution. مش قاعد يعلم فيك كيفاش تعمل an algorithm or study risk or provide a formula. قاعد يعلم فيك كيفاش تتعامل مع الفيوتشر بتاع الشركه. قاعد يعلم فيك كيفاش تعمل ريونيون. قاعد يعلم فيك كيفاش تشارك بالاوبينيون بتاعك. In my opinion, that's what bridging the gap is. So that immediately you become an important member of that community that you join, because you're leaving one community behind. So how can we make these two communities interact with each other more? The educational community and the professional community. You have a role in that. And that role is, as I said a minute ago, is being aware of your surroundings, being aware of your own weaknesses. One thing I have done that worked for me, and when I was teaching, I would tell my students to do all the time, and that is do your own SWOT analysis. Who's done a SWOT analysis before? Okay, put your hands up. Hi. About 4 people. Do you know what a SWOT analysis is? L'analyse, c'est une analyse de points forts et de points faibles à la routine du شخص. Ok, sort of prise de conscience. Prise de conscience. على أنا كشخص اليوم أنت مش تدخل مارشي. What do I have للمارشي حاشو لي? Or what do I need للمارشي حاشو لي وأنا ما عنديش? Pas seulement techniquement, mais aussi other skills, tools. SWOT analyse اللي يعملوها في الماركتينج بتاعهم إلى استراتيجية لونجتي SWOT اللي هي strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You must do this. No teacher has told you to do this before, and shame on them. And now shame on you. You need to do this. You need to understand who you are and what you have for skills and what you need for skills so that you can be integrated into that job market, into the society that you work in, so that you are successful. How will you know what you need? As I said a minute ago, how will you know what you don't know unless you do this? Look in the mirror. There's a virtual mirror. Look at it. Don't just say it's you like Google said. No, that mirror shows you defects that you have not ever been aware of. We all look in the mirror in the morning. Why do we look in the mirror in the morning? It's sort of a confirmation. I'm a beautiful person. you really want. Getting to that vision, that success that you want, faster, quicker, cheaper, better. Who's here is not a good listener? The good akid. Who is not? We have one honest person. The rest of you all lying to yourselves. We don't listen very well. We need to learn how to do that. That's one thing that you will see when you look in the mirror. And if you are honest with yourself, because it's the toughest job you'll ever have to do. Do I really listen to people? When I say listen, it's not like listening to my words right now. Listen emphatically, do I understand what is being said to me? When a lady that works for me comes and says to Lotfi, والله رسمي جابي أنا اليوم اشتراك بكري, assuming that she's an honest woman. Do I have the capacity to understand that that woman has other things to deal with? Maybe she had a fight with her husband that morning. Maybe her son is sick. She has issues. And this happens at work all the time. And what makes me today successful in my job, it's not anything that I had learned at school. It's not any grades that I have excelled at. It's the capacity to understand when someone says to me, my child is sick, and I say, I don't care, I have a project that needs to be done today at 5 o'clock. Those are the things that make you successful or not successful in life. Those are the things that when you look in the mirror and you say, you know what? I have to improve that capacity to understand other people. Being a leader today is not being a big boss. It's not about telling consider yourself successful, in 10 years from now, when you're 35 years old, you've got a wife and 2 kids, or a husband and 2 kids, would you consider yourself successful when you have a nice job, a nice car, a nice house, a nice title, but everything around you is gone to the dogs? I can't say another word, so I say dogs. Is that success to you? Have you asked yourself, what is success for you? I'm about to graduate from a nice school like this. What is success for you today? Is success a great job? Is success a 5,000 dinar salary? What is it? I can tell you what it was for me and what it is today. When I was 22 years old, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in mathematics, and it was 85, 86, something like that. The economy was in the worst shape. Ronald Reagan was the president of the United States. There was a war in Grenada. Nobody was hiring. Kind of reminds me of today. There's always a war someplace, and the economy is really bad, and nobody's hiring. Back home, my dad just passed away. I'm the oldest of 5. Actually, there was 15 of us. But from my mother, there's 5, and I'm the oldest. But I have 15 brothers and sisters. When my dad passed away, I became the breadwinner at 22 years old. I had no idea what that meant. I'm in Boston, and I have to support a family, my mom and 5 brothers and sisters back here. So all this stuff I'm saying meant nothing to me. The only thing that I had in front of me was make as much money as you can so you can send some of it back home for my mom and my younger brother and sisters to go to school. I am from JPO2016. Does anyone know what that is? Put your hands up so I can see. Disappointing. JPO2016 في ولاية سيدي بوزيد. كنت البريمير بتاعي غالي. بعد مشيت عملت الليسي، ما عندناش ليسي وقت. دونك تمشي اندر. انا مشيت بابا عنده شعب شهور قال لي اخرج من هنا ولا باش نسيت تحرك كيما اخوك. وين مشيت؟ قال لي نمشي نقراو من جرمن نقراو في سبيطة. خاطر احنا كنا تابعين ولاية القاسرين. دونك اقرب ليسي لينا سيدي سبيطة. وبابا يعرف. قال لي تعرف اخوك قاعد هنا من تحت. عندي خويا راه 4 سنين في السي جرماني. سنة 4 في السي جرماني خلط عليه هنا. خليه بابا في المكتب باش يهزني معاه. That was his job. خليني توجه تحب تمشي برا ولا تحب تحرق في اخوك على يفيدو. قال لي يحرق. قلت له ليه تحب تمشي هنا؟ انا ما نحبش نمشي للسبيطة. يعرف شكون في يوروبيل. على سنتي 7 سنين انترن في يوروبيل. And that was the first good thing that happened. Because a change of environment and وقت بجيبه كنت نجلس أقسام. ونحكي لكمش حكاية لي في السيامة بتاعي. بميراني وانا في يوروبيل. I just turned 11. And then 7 سنين, it was tough. But it was great. I look back today and say, some people think I'm a success. I don't think I'm a success, but what were the things that made me do okay in my life? And that was the first step. Because when you're 11 years old, this big, I was not always this big. I was really young, tiny guy. And خدت الليسي وتبقى معهم بريميراني اللي عمره 15 سنة واللي عمره 16 سنة واللي الحجم كده. You have to, it's not your physical force now that's going to be to get you to succeed. It's how you wheel and deal. It's how you create relationships. It's how you use this guy. And it's how you couldn't now. I had bodyguards because I didn't believe the word. that much. الكلاس بتاعي كل البريس دي ناخده نفس الموين because I would help all of them. And I was their little brother. And so, why am I telling this? It's an example of relationships. It's an example of adapting to the environment that you're in. So success for me then it can propel me to the next level. As I was telling you, 22, I'm in the United States, I had to create something. It was the same feeling that many of you, or not, hopefully not you, but many of your friends and family have today. For Michigan, interest rates, because in America we gauge everything with the interest rates. Interest rates were nearly 20%. Inflation was at 9%. Things were really bad then. So no one was going to hire me for a job. I created my own job. And if I tell you what my first job was, you're going to laugh. I had several first jobs. They were all small little jobs. But the one that really made me think about entrepreneurship and success and going beyond mathematics and going beyond your diploma. When you come to Boston in the morning, there was this traffic every morning at about from 7 o'clock in the morning to about 9 cars, and there was this tunnel, the first underground tunnel in the United States called, I don't know if there's anybody been to Boston here. The airport is in an island. There's Boston. There's a little island next to it, 3 kilomètres. L'aéroport est là. Donc, كان أخسر وقتها باش يعملوا تونيل تحت الماء فوق الماء. كانت ليني تاع التونيل يخرجوا في بياج واحد. انجينير تاع الكوسي. فهمتني؟ عملنا في البياج واحد. دونك ديما نبدا هذيك. I saw an opportunity there. Some friends of mine and I, we bought كيما جرة هي بيع حديد. عملناها حديد تلبسها كيما هكا الساق. حديد 1986. تلبسها كيما اللي الساق هذوك هذوك. وكجرة هذيك فيها شكون الفلاح عمل فلاح اللي يرشوا بيهم هذوك. تلبسها ويرشوا بيهم. Exactly the same thing. That. And it had a pocket next to it where you put the goblin. بالمئة. And it was all these people who were going to work, late for work, but stuck in traffic. Perfect market. Guy is stuck there for 2 minutes, is swearing, screaming, and I'm just bitch, I'm so good. You know, through that. That was my first job. Then during that time, I drove a taxi in the evenings. I was a security guard at the university where I studied. And these, among other jobs, were the best things that happened. This is before I went back to graduate school. Okay. Because it taught me that my success, since we're talking about this, and you need to define it, and for you, what it means. My success has to be unique to me. Your success has to be unique to you. It can't be determined by your parents. I'm sorry for parents that are here. It can't be determined by the world that you live in. And it can't be determined by the society that you live in. Your success may not have to do with yourself. Your success may not have to do with the car you drive or the title that you have. So decide what it is for you. I'm not about to tell you that it doesn't have anything to do with money. It may very well have to do with money. But make sure it is you who decides what it is. Because if we all fall into that trap, which unfortunately I see it happening a lot to those, of living other people's lives. Many of us at this age, we live our life by other norms, not norms that we have set up, but norms that the society has set for us. So determine what success is for you. You will be on the right path. My next, second, and most important advice, it may not make sense to you right now, but I want you to do me a favor. Put Control S, put it on save, and then go back to it every now and then. Ask yourself, and I've done surveys here, and I know about 80% of you have done this, if not more. What are my values? What are my values? What is important for me today? Why do I live? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And I think this is an extremely tough exercise to do. This will clarify, will put you under a microscope, and you will look at yourself in a different way. What are the things, or the one thing, that if I were to take away from me, I will not be the same person? That's what your value is, isn't it? It's the one thing that we cannot take away from you. Because if I were to take it away from you, you wouldn't be who you are. How many people have asked that question? How many people know what truly their values are? No? Okay. Sorry, I lost track. I will wrap it up. Bridging the gap isn't just your job, it's all of our job. It's all of our jobs. But we, as young students, and I'm putting myself in your, because I am a young person and I'm still a student, we have a tremendous responsibility in bridging that gap. So before you start saying that the school and the administration and the government and the world, ask yourselves, what is it that I have to do? What is my responsibility in terms of identifying the things that you have to do to bridge the gap? Work hard, but work harder in defining relationships around you. There's a saying in America that says, don't burn your bridges because you may need them to get back. Build your bridges. Build the bridges with other people. And there's one thing that I always say, because somebody said it to me years ago, and I have to do the same thing. Who's seen that movie, Pay It Forward? It's a great movie. It's probably got a different name in French. You know the actor Kevin Spacey, the one who's in House of Cards? Okay. He is the star of this movie with that little boy. The movie is called Pay It Forward. It's about this little boy who meets 3 people he doesn't know. He's never met them before. And he helps them. He helps them do he helps them get out of a problem. And then they go to pay him, and he says, no. I will help you with one condition, that you do the same thing for somebody else. A total stranger that you don't know, that you help. And just think of it as like, those logic trees, think of it as spreading. Each person helps 3 people, and so forth and so on and so on. Society changes. Help someone. Share your knowledge. Help someone that you don't know. We are so calculating, and especially you guys, because you've been told that you need to be better than everybody else. How concours, how prepare, how understand. Dima انت say it's me. I have to be best. I have to be. Dima انسى الكل. There are others around us. Donc أنا لو قاعد نسفيك مش تعمل حاجة كونترير للي شيء وصلكم أنتم لهنا. Pour être parmi les meilleurs. To be accepted to all these great schools, you have to be better than everybody else. C'est une concurrence. I'm asking you to help others. I'm asking you to share your knowledge and give to other students. Première année d'année, 1979, le campus. I didn't know anyone. I was young, of course, as I told you, I was much younger than everybody else. I would sometimes cry. I was a young kid. Not a single person would say, I'm going to help this kid. On the weekends, I often didn't have places to go. My family lives in Gilman, I didn't have family in Coombs. You know someone like that today. But you're so too busy wondering about yourself and your hair and your Facebook and Instagram and all that bullshit that doesn't matter, that you don't see those who are aching near you. Take on those glasses, take them off those glasses, and begin to see things differently. You will see many opportunities to pay it forward. And when you pay it forward for someone that you don't know, without expecting anything in return, but share your knowledge and help others around you. And finally, my last point before the end, brothers, a cup of coffee on me. My last point is that enjoy it along the way. Enjoy it, have fun. There is no point in reaching these heights if you're not going to have fun along the way. Have fun. Screw society. Seriously. Have fun for yourself. And don't worry about what others are going to say. Who gives an SHIT to what everybody else said? Have fun. Because this is the best time of your lives. You do not want to look back in 5 years. You're already married and got 2 kids. Can't have the fun that you want. Have fun now. Because life is too short. And live every day as if it's your last day. Someone once said, sing like no one is listening. Dance like nobody's watching.
Love like nobody's heard you.
Love like something. I haven't figured out. All right. I wish you the best. And I'm really proud and happy and honored to be here again. Thank you for the invitation. Here we go.
Thank you.